In the Pits is partnered with Compete. Compete is a Texas-based brand by Jell Stewart of professional team AC Diesel that provides custom jerseys, pants, headbands, straps, tech shirts, and any other soft goods to help individuals and teams compete at the highest level. Support Texas Paintball and message Compete on Facebook or Instagram and mention In the Pits Podcast for 10% off your entire order. In the Pits is partnered with Get Dat Shot. Get Dat Shot now offers first-in-line photo and video editing, 20% off Get Dat Shot merch, and 20% off prints to all teams that wear the Get Dat Shot logo on their jersey. Message GetDat_shot on Facebook or Instagram to become a Get Dat Shot program team. In the Pits is partnered with Paintball Kumite. Paintball Kumite is a program designed by Colt Roberts of professional team San Antonio X Factor to take paintball players of all ages, experience levels, and skill groups and mold them into champions. The program breaks the game down into small, easy-to-learn sessions designed to help you master the fundamentals so that you can elevate your game. Newcomers to the program get a free 1-hour introductory class when mentioning In the Pits. To sign up for a class, message @PaintballKumite on Instagram. Welcome everyone to episode 19 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene here in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week we'll have a short and sweet episode with a new topic and a new special guest. I'm Christian Smith. I'm a player for the Texas Titans. In this episode we are going in the pits with Jesse Stevens, player for San Antonio X Factor. Jesse, how are you doing this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. It's been a long time coming trying to get you on now. We finally here. Feels good.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth for a minute now. I'm happy our schedule's finally aligned.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, let's get into it.
All right, Jesse. So for those listening, maybe they don't know so much about you personally. How long have you been involved in the Texas paintball scene?
I've been involved in the Texas paintball scene now for 10 years. So finally hit my 10-year. It's been a wild journey. I've been able to play for just about all the top teams that are, playing professionally right now. Between Diesel, AC Dallas, and now this is my second 10-year saga with X Factor. So it's been quite a ride, man. I've been truly blessed to be able to play with some of the best talent in Texas and win events and have a really special paintball journey. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, and looking back on your your PB Leagues profile as far as it goes back, it's pretty much just been all Texas for the last 10 years. So that's really great to see, just like kind of really true Texas talent. So what teams have you played for over the years?
So I started in the Louisiana paintball scene and played for some throw together teams around the South Louisiana scene, I guess I could say, and then played my first World Cup in 2008 with a team called Dark Army, which was kind of just a throw together 5-man team with some guys from Louisiana and then Mississippi out of SWAT paintball. So that was my first kind of the intro to competitive paintball. Got to play the 2008 World Cup, which is actually was the last World Cup they had at Walt Disney World at the Wide World of Sports. So that was pretty badass. And then I started playing with the Palm Beach Vipers in 2009, right after that. So it was a big part. I know we were talking about this earlier on the show, but I was there for the whole DQ Films era when, it was kind of part of, I guess you could say, culture, fashion, whatever. The Palm Beach Vipers were definitely at the forefront of that, or at least, for PB Nation fanboys such as myself. But that kind of got me my first real introduction to, the team side of just being in the mix, being in a big camp like Palm Beach, which had at the time like 5 teams or so. And I mean, I was kind of on one of their little throw together teams with a lot of the guys from the Gulf Coast Panhandle area. I mean, myself from Louisiana, but we had guys from Mississippi, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida. So we were a little squad, and eventually made my way over to Texas. At the beginning of 2011, I came out and originally tried out for X Factor at the time, and Alex and Colt were both really good to me and kept in contact with me, and I ended up playing with X Factor's divisional team, which we were still out there at Maximum Paintball over there in San Marcos. So that was really cool to see that era, and then finally get to see the X Factor built at the end of 2011 and see all that come together, and be out there seeing Alex coming back onto the fold and being just the amazing owner that he is. When he's all in, man, he's there to win. And it was really cool to see a lot of the OGs come back. That was actually when Archie, that was the first year Archie had come back from Dynasty. He had spent a year on Dynasty, had come back that year. Dixon Yang had come back. They got the OG squad back for 2011, and I was there to see everything kind of that year and just fell in love with the team. And then tried out for X Factor in 2012, and that was the roster. So it's kind of where the story really took off. For me, at least, just kind of my second big tryout with X Factor, because the first one was kind of just, they were feeling me out because my mentor coming up, Sean McDonald, had arranged a tryout for me to go out there. He had kind of set up the whole thing with Grayson. And for those who don't know Sean McDonald, Crunchy, he played on Excessive for a short span of time, and then got onto the Ironman when they were a super team, like built to beat the Russians, when they had guys like Nicky Cuba and Brandon Short, Marcelo, Mouse, Mr. U, Go Hootinen, Mike Paxson, all those old school legends, Ryan Williams, all those old school legends. So, I mean, he was on the team with Oliver and won a World Cup with Oliver, and everything was, a big part of that team. So having that guy, take me under his wing, kind of Mr. Miyagi, train me, groom me, instill all those, huge elements to what it takes to being successful in the paintball world, between hard work and just grit and, staying on the grind and, never quitting, really, just being persistent. It all pays off. And a lot of those qualities he instilled with me, I, carry on this day and try and pass that down to whoever I work with, and instill all that. And at the end of the day, this sport's really about the work you put into it, and you definitely get what you put into it. So, whatever percentage of yourself you're trying to invest in paintball, I guarantee you, you'll get that much out of it, if not more. But anyway, before I kind of get too off topic, yeah, Crunchy arranged that with Grayson, and that 2011 was my first go around. And then they have Planet Eclipse come out and film, their tryout in 2012. This is after I'd played the season with their Division II team. Colt hits me up to come out and try out for the team, and Billy Bernacci is there, and Planet Eclipse is there filming. Dan Napoli, legendary paintball director, putting together a lot of great films, including the BKI documentary. So that was awesome. That was my first real big tryout experience, and to go as far as I went and to be asked to come back and be a part of their practice squad, that was what, to me, make my decision to move out to Texas. And this is 2012, so this is a big turning point for me. And now it's 2022. I mean, I've seen and done just about everything with X Factor, and to look back on it now that we're talking about it, it's just crazy, And I decided at the end of that tryout that I was gonna move out to San Antonio and pursue my dreams of playing professional paintball. And it was right at that turning point for me as well with school. I had just graduated high school. I was in my first semester of college, going into my second, and it was a clean slate for me too, to get away from just being in Louisiana and being a part of that scene, and just like a new chapter in my life. So that was was insane. It's to look back on it now, like what I will say is I took a big leap of faith and I stuck to the process and I just worked hard and implemented all the things like I knew I needed to that I'd learned from Sean and, just really pursued my dreams and in goals with passion, and I kept at it. I was persistent, There were always ups and downs, but 4 or 5 months down the line after moving out there, being a part of the practice squad, like people are kind of in a rough spot where some of the guys, and this is back when 7-man was being played. The team was playing X-ball and 7-man, and they were down some bodies. Like we all know the season's long. Guys get hurt, life things come up, and I think like 2 or 3 guys were going to miss the Chicago MPPL event in 2012, and I was playing well enough throughout some practices that they decided to take me, and that was my first professional event. This is when MPPL was still around. So the Chicago 7-man. And then that next event was PSP Chicago. Or no, MAO. So that was my first professional X-ball event.
So you've been kind of since, you got into Texas or making that big leap of faith, you've just been all Texas since then. And like you said, just putting in that hard work. And I know a couple of the people that I put on or that come on the show, they'll say like, oh, I played for a while and then I took a break for a while and then came back, 5, 6, sometimes 10 or more years later. But it seems like you haven't really had that time off. You've just like consistently been on that grind. And because of that, because of the hard work and dedication, here you are now on one of the best teams in the world. So Jesse, next question I have for you is just kind of your origin story. How did you get into paintball?
So I had always caught paintball here and there on TV. And I mean, growing up playing organized sports, I played baseball and soccer growing up, and I was always on travel teams and whatnot. I've always been an athlete, have always been involved in organized sports, like my entire life growing up. My first word was ball. My dad was a college baseball coach before he got into pharmaceuticals, and he always instilled that, competitive aspect with me. But like he was always a baseball guy, and I drifted away from baseball, fell in love with soccer. And, as a 10, 11-year-old playing in, organized competitive teams that are traveling around, like a lot of these kids went to school together, and I went to a different school, and I would always catch them talking about, so-and-so's birthday party or whatever. Oh, we went to a paintball party, yada, 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 and just kind of hear the stories. I see it on TV. So it just kind of piques my interest. And, eventually I remember we're playing a soccer game or whatever. And I'm like, Dad, I want to go play paintball, and he kind of starts looking into it. And one weekend I go out there, and we, most paintball fields are open like 9 to 5, right? Like a normal business, right? Well, we show up at like 4 p.m. or whatever. So I get out there to LA Extreme Paintball, which I still to this day, 5 minutes down the road from my parents' house whenever I'm in town in Slidell. I make sure I go out and say hi to Drew Bankston and see what he's got going on over there. But this field, that's where the Mardi Gras Open was held, the Munkerfest event. So a lot of people are now familiar with LA Extreme and how great of a facility it is. And Drew Bankston's really gone out of his way to really do that for, the community and to run just an awesome tournament, recreational field that you can go and you can have a great time and get just about every look at paintball as possible. And to see it just grow over the years has been just insane. And now the New Orleans Hurricanes play out of LA Extreme. So it's become a real hub for Louisiana. But when I first arrived out there, it had humble beginnings. The shop was out of a trailer, and now it's Drew's got this massive facility with a giant building. He's got multiple other storage facilities and other buildings. He's got a gym. Actually, he's built into one of his buildings out there, but he's got this whole complex now. And, you know, when I started going out there, it was very simple. You know, you had your hyperball field, you know, you had a grass field, you had the woods ball field, and, you know, he had a little pro shop operated out of, you know, the trailer that, you know, they operated the business out of. So I get out there and, you know, it's closing time. You know, Drew lets me go out and play, and they had one or two guys still playing out there. And to this day, the Navy SEAL, Mr. Marty, who I was just in town for a wedding in New Orleans, and lo and behold, he's out there still getting it. He's like 60 something years old, and he's still out there running around, playing in the woods and playing on the containers fields and recreational fields out there, the scenario fields out there, I should say. But yeah, he took me out and we played one-on-ones for like an hour or so, and that was my first paintball experience. Mr. Marty just out there, you know, taking me out, showing me kind of, you know, ropes, and just, you know, just started figuring it out, and just, like everyone, just got bit by the bug, and here I am, you know, 14 years later, just still in it. So, I mean, that's basically my origin story, and it just kept coming out. It became an every weekend thing, and I mean, I'm sure my parents would have done anything to just get me off of playing Halo and Call of Duty. So, I mean, my dad was bringing me out to the paintball field on weekends. I mean, I was doing all kinds of extra chores and whatnot to save up to get some parts for my Ion, you know, just always looking to get like the next best thing. It was those beginning stages of paintball where you're so worried about the gear, right? You want to put that new barrel, that die barrel, or whatever, you know, that your new Halo hopper, you know, I wanted a Pulse or whatever. I got a little 3068 cubic tank or whatever, and then realized I needed a 4500, you know. So I was in that phase, right? Just falling in love, getting all my buddies involved to go out and play and whatnot, building forts in the back of my parents' yard and just back and forth, you know, in a snap shooting battle. Like, it was very humble beginnings for me, and honestly, just kept going out, and, you know, finally eventually figured out, like, you really want to see what it's all about, you need to get out there on Sunday morning and see the X-ball practices and whatnot go on. And that's where I first met Sean McDonald. I go out there, and at the time, you know, they have their D3 team, the Fields team, LAX Machine was scrimmaging, and there's a guy in an Ironman jersey running around out there just putting it on people and whatnot. And that see how he moved around, and, you know, he was running and shooting places, gunfighting everybody. And this is back when it was 15 balls a second, so everybody's just, you know, ripping, just running down the field. It's crazy. It's just that adrenaline rush. Seeing that, getting out there playing, you know, it was addicting. And befriend Sean, and it kind of snowballed from there. I mean, I think I befriended him somehow, just conversation here and there, and I guess he saw how interested I was. And I mean, I just remembered sitting down with him on one of the benches out there and expressing, you know, my want to, you know, play professional paintball, you know, just, and I feel like every kid says that, you know, I want to play pro. And it really just started like that. And then he kind of wanted to meet out at the field at 8 a.m. to do snap shooting drills with me. And it kind of grew from there. Like, I would show up early, no one's there, and he'd kind of take me through his process. And it really just evolved from there. And before you know it, like, he's really taken me under his wing, and he's playing one-on-one situations with me, and, you know, just going through progression drills or little obstacle courses where I have to, you know, really expand my mind and, you know, dissect a field. And we would play on this hyperball field, so it was very interesting. Now, thinking back on it, it really set up a lot of the creativity I feel that I have nowadays, where I would have to dissect these situations with him and, break little scenarios, and we'd set up targets and whatnot, little silhouette targets, like it actually looked like a little, figure, and have to, use blind spots and work my way down a field and stuff like that. So it just evolved.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so cool that you had like those older like mentors, I guess, to help kind of like introduce you bit by bit into the game.
Well, it was really Sean. I mean, Sean, like, it truly was like Karate Kid. It was Batman Begins, bro. Like, Bruce Wayne's getting trained by Ra's al Ghul out there, on the ice, sword fighting and shit and whatnot. I mean, it was truly like this crazy story of like me being trained, being like classically like trained how to play paintball from a style back when the sport was still evolving. I mean, it's completely different now than what it was, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's insane to think that. Like, I fell in love with paintball in 2007. I mean, I started in 2006, but 2007, now that I look back on it, and it's still one of my favorite seasons ever. I mean, the Russians were dominant. The Ironmen were really good. San Antonio X Factor had just come into the league, and they surprised everyone and beat the Ironmen and win Chicago, 2007. That's basically a rookie team. That was their fifth X Ball event. They win. So I mean, there's just a lot of things that happened that particular year that, like, I look back on it and I was like, wow, like that was the year that like really made me fall in love with the game and just like everything. Like, and that was, I mean, for those who don't know, if you go and look up Murder War of Attrition, that was that season. And I mean, you had really good X-Ball teams, and it was just the storylines. Like, that's what kind of like, still to this day, like I'm such a nerd for the sport because of the storylines of all the teams and whatnot, and just paintball history in general. I mean, sports history in general, if you look back on time, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, there's all these storylines that are intersecting teams, rising, falling, rising, all that. And it's just cool to see much has changed.
Yeah, for sure. And
how much has stayed the same.
Yeah, especially in the last like 14 years. Like, I mean, just seeing what's different and what's staying the same. You've got big names back 14, 15 years ago that are still big names now.
Absolutely. Still crushing.
Yeah. And you would argue like those big names now, like, like the Ryan Greenspans, like Thomas Taylor, like Colt Roberts, like even, 14, 15 years later, who's going to catch them? Like, you still see those guys as like the top of the game. And, like, granted, there's a lot of young talent coming in, especially, within the last 2 years and with the league expansion, like ML King's picking up a lot of young kids and they're starting to do really well. Columbus Level coming in, really, putting their name on the top 10 this year. But it's still the old dogs that are on top.
They're on top for a reason, though. They've been doing it this long. They've seen all the situations. They've, their paintball IQ is on a different level. It's in a different. It can shift into different gears than all these other guys because they've just been around the block for so long. Why you still see, I mean, a lot of these guys, like, there's no real judge for like what someone's quote unquote prime is, because you have guys nowadays who are playing so well in like into their late 30s and early 40s. Like, I mean, it's truly a chess match. I mean, it's not so much. I mean, obviously, like there's the physical aspect of it, but this game is played with your mind, and it really comes down to decision making. And I mean, there's so many parallels with other sports, and like, you watch football, and like a lot of these like really big games come down to 2-3 errors that happen. And like you look back on like these titanic clashes within paintball on Sunday, especially, like it really does come down to the little things within the sport. But that's where the experience comes into play, seeing the scenarios and all that. So it's been really interesting, man. And like we were saying earlier, like I've been lucky to play around some great minds in paintball, and just from the get go, I mean, I had Crunch, who just really thought outside of the box and helped me kind of expand my play. And then I get out to Texas, and I love that you talk so much about Texas paintball, because Texas paintball over the past 10 years has truly come to the forefront of competitive paintball as a whole. I mean, it's definitely where the scene is. Obviously Southern California historically throughout the years has been mecca for paintball, and where all the talent is. But not saying it still doesn't have that same amount of talent in a pool as a whole, large talent pool out there. But Texas is on another level right now, and I was lucky enough to really see the boom or that go on in the early 2010s to mid 2010s, when I got on AC in 2015, and that was, you were saying you got your start in 2015. That's when the NXL came back around. The PSP had died, and then they start the NXL back up again, and competitive paintball, as we see nowadays, I mean, that's where it started to take a new shift and to what it is now. And you see the products that we've been able to create with it for Ghost Sports and all of that. And I mean, it's been really cool to see that. And then now, like we were saying, I mean, Texas paintball has really boomed over the past 7-8 years. And I mean, see everything that the North Texas area has been able to do with the AC camp and Paintball Fit expanding, and you have so much talent up there, and you have a large influx of talent down south over here between San Antonio and the Valley, where we have a large talent pool as well, and it comes together as a whole. I mean, you have teams in Austin, you have Houston's a nice little niche over there. They have a lot of good teams. Just Texas paintball as a whole has really grown tremendously over the years. And coming from Louisiana, I mean, I didn't really have that growing up. There was only, so big of a player pool. And to see where it is nowadays, it's really cool as a whole, I think.
And I don't know if you've listened to, did you happen to catch any of Chris Rangel's episode last week?
Did not. That's definitely on the to-do list.
Yeah, well, we were talking a lot about kind of like how Texas has been looking the last few years, and we do hear a lot about how Texas is the mecca, and like even within the Texas scene, there's like 5 or 6 different like mini scenes within it. Like you've got the Valley, you've got San Antonio, you've now like Austin is really growing really quickly when Notorious moved up there, and then Hypnotics really starting to build a camp of their own. Over in Houston, you've got the new Megaton field that just got finished. So you're probably going to see a whole influx of talent. Plus, with fields like Splat Zone that just finished that indoor field. Whole lot more teams are going to start coming up. And I feel like Texas is kind of at the start of what I feel like is going to be an arms race, which is going to be really good for the players, going to be really good for the scene as a whole. So we're going to see a lot of really big names start to rise, I feel like, within the next probably 3 years.
Yeah, it's been highly competitive, and I mean, we're starting to see that gap really get bridged. I mean, everybody, for the most part, I feel like Division 3 and lower, there's just a huge talent pool right now, and they're Notorious and Grit for a period of time kind of filled that Division 2 D1 gap. But with everybody moving up, obviously Paintball Fit, I mean, they're dominating semi-pro right now. They're doing a really good job. But we're starting to see all different levels and divisions getting filled with teams now, to where it's just there's talent across the board, and it's just going to keep, people are just going to keep rising.
Yep.
And
It's not just going to be like Dallas scene anymore. I feel like the rest of Texas is has caught up. If they, maybe they still have a little bit of ground
getting
to
there.
catch up, but I
It's
feel
getting
like
there.
we're really getting to a point where teams from all over Texas are going to be really super competitive, and we're going to see a lot of parity across the board. And it's just going to be like, hey, which scene or which teams work for it more. Uh, so yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see next couple of years. So Jesse, talking about like how the Texas scene has changed, uh, kind of now and into the future. Let's talk about where we came from. So since you arrived in Texas, what has changed about the scene over time since you've been here?
The quality of fields. I mean, Paintball Fit and X Factor, both. So Paintball Fit started coming into the scene in 2015. So, I mean, Mad Dog's Paintball was always around. That was a scenario field, but then Paintball Fit came around in 2015, and that's done a whole ton for North Texas. And now we see that player pool as a whole as just probably one of the biggest in the nation. I mean, it's insane how many of those Paintball Fit teams go on to win in divisional paintball across the board. I mean, like you've seen it. What I feel like is just about every division. Like there's been a Paintball Fit team to win, so it's pretty cool. And then obviously X Factor came around in 2011, and has its place as a great facility for rec ball, and obviously like where X Factor plays, so you have all these professional teams that come out to practice in San Antonio, and that brings a draw within itself. But I think the biggest thing is the players getting out there and being able to help. You saw the AC Dallas camp do a really good job of this. And I know this because I was a part of it and I saw all the work Greg put into it, but we did a really good job of getting out and getting around to all the different fields in Texas over like a 5 to 7 year span. And he's done a tremendous amount of work, Greg Pauly, and a good for the scene, because you see, so many teams being able to increase their level and being able to work with, the knowledge that's out there. When I was on Diesel and AC Dallas, we everybody was kind of split up for the most part, and like a lot of guys were in college, whether it was at College Station or in Austin, Houston, San Antonio, wherever. A lot of younger guys, and I mean, we would go all out to our fields and just work with people, and kind of get it out there. And obviously, regional series for players to play. Like, there's a lot of different elements that have just helped just the player pool in Texas as a whole. I mean, I'm talking about series, SXBL over the years, from its humble beginnings as the AXBL to now USXBL. That's been really where everyone's cut their teeth, and all these divisional teams have been able to get valuable experience and grind. And now you have multiple series. I mean, keep talking about how much Texas paintball has been able to grow, but we've seen so many different series get introduced. The XTPL up at Paintball Fit, where's the HTPS over in Houston, and now the XFPS down in San Antonio. So I mean, and like it everybody plays their part. It's all one big scene. So you have all these different events, these local events, whatever it may be, and you have all these professionals or upper divisional paintball players that are able to work with guys at their fields and whatnot, and just the knowledge that's been able to be spread throughout Texas as a whole.
I wonder how much of that was due to kind of in that time period from like 2015 to 2018 or so. We had a lot of like pro players. You were talking about all of these different pros that were in college in different parts of Texas going out to their local fields. Like I know you were at UTSA. You were playing with the UTSA Roadrunners. in the NCPA for a year. We had guys like Ryan Hall, Devin Stewart playing with Texas
A&M.
A&M, and
A&M
Nathan
had a
Roberts.
run.
Yep, Nathan Roberts was at UT with the Longhorns, and I wondered like how much of that. I think Ryan Hall's brother Robert Hall was with University of North Texas as well. Like we had a lot of pro players in the college scene, and I wonder how much of that um, translated to how like the scene has grown, like how many players that like got introduced to it in college getting to play alongside pro players kind of led to that growth in the player base.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's done their part in some way, shape, or form. But I think it's just been a culmination of guys just passing down the knowledge and people getting more and more involved. Like we talked about all the AC guys doing all that stuff. Grayson Goff started BKI Paintball in 2013 or 2014, somewhere in there. And I mean that he did his part, you know, in the central Texas scene to help grow it. And I mean, to tell you the truth, like from that mid 2010s, like 2014, 2015 area to now, I mean, so much work has been done within the paintball community here in Texas, just everybody kind of giving back. And we're seeing the fruits of our labor, you know, finally start to come, and it come to, and it's been absolutely awesome to witness like this scene blossom into what it is now. And I'm going to keep saying it. I'll keep beating the dead horse. Everybody's done their part in it, you know, and it's just been awesome and very heartwarming to see just how much like people have given back to our sport here in Texas. And it's very cool because a lot of guys that I saw start playing paintball. Like I'll never forget the first time I met Marky France playing out at X Factor with Mark, you know. It was like half my size, and now he's like a foot taller than me. You know, I remember like him coming out and just seeing like everything, you know, just really. Dylan's already sending me XFPS stuff right now, so that we'll get into that here in a second.
Oh, yeah,
but
sure.
it's been awesome to see just the whole process in general, just people like really chasing their dreams, and now we have all like multiple like storied teams in Texas now that, you know, are going to continue to rise through the ranks, yourself included, with the Titans. I mean, I saw y'all kind of take y'all's jump, and now I mean y'all are a threat, you know, and y'all are chock full of talent. Colt's coaching you. I mean, it's just been awesome to see everything kind of come full circle, you know, as a whole. Just from my perspective, you know, when things started, and you know how small it kind of was, and now just how big the scene over here in Texas is. So
yeah, and I'm really excited to see where it's going with all of the, you know, talent starting to rise, hitting we've got so many teams that are going to be in the kind of D3 area next year. Yeah, just in Texas, and whether it's going to be in USXBL or the new Bunker Fest series, like there's going to be heavy competition in D3, which is something that Texas hasn't seen in the last few years. You know, outside of Greed, outside of Notorious, and outside of when like kind of fit.com was in the D3 scene. Like, yeah, we had those other teams like TOG, Shut Up We're Trying, Texas Phalanx, but it's been so long since we've had those, you know, that diversity of teams, and it's really exciting to see that come back.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's just rising right now, so we're going to see it. And I mean, we've seen so many, you know, great D4 teams thus far over the past few seasons start to make their rise, and you know,
yeah, for
now
sure,
everybody's just moving up. But yeah, Chris Rangel's series, Bunker Fest. I mean, there's another one. We're going to have multiple events over here and throughout Texas next year, so there's another big series. So I mean, it's been incredible to see everything just snowball and evolve.
Cool.
Getting more and more interesting.
So Jesse, I want to get into your your pro career. We've talked a lot about like the Texas scene and about your origins. I want to get to your more recent pro career. So, a couple months ago, you won at the NXL Europe British Invitational with Breakout Spa. So, how did you originally like connect with those guys, and what's the experience like playing over in Europe?
I mean, I feel so blessed to be able to have been able to get back over there for this year because, I mean, going through COVID, I didn't know if we were going to be able to get over there again, and I didn't know if I was going to be one of the guys to get over there. You know, I expected all, the big names like Marcelo and Greenspan to be able to go guest for teams over there, but it kind of just happened. I mean, Breakout Spa has a long tenured history with the X Factor guys, going back to Grayson and Michael, going over and playing with them, and then obviously Colt played a couple of events with them as well, and then Archie and Ryan Brand going over and coaching, having Archie over there to play. I mean, they have a long tenured list of X Factor players that they've used over the years. They brought over, and they reached out to me over Facebook. It was just kind of a random message, and it just all kind of came together. Spring of this year, like right after Florida, and it was a real cool opportunity to be able to go over there and experience that. So I couldn't pass it up. Even when I took a little sabbatical myself to really get my corporate job under my belt and get something much needed going in my life, and take that next step outside of just living the paintball life. And it was an opportunity that I couldn't really pass up, and was able to make it work, and went over there and played 2 events with Breakout Spa and ended up winning one of them. So it was a very different experience. What they did was they would fly me in the weekend prior, so I would go over on like a Thursday and fly like all day Thursday into Friday morning. They'd pick me up on Friday. I'd have a day to kind of get adjusted to, just the time change and everything. But would practice the weekend prior to the event with them, and then kind of have a few days to go pick it and see Belgium and whatnot. Go visit Spa. Go to the Spa and Spa. So that was pretty cool. And just see the facility. Which Breakout Spa has their own paintball field. That's it's actually a tennis complex, and it has a paintball field in the back, with a bar and everything. So it's super sweet. Was able to go out there and get with those guys and really kind of see what it's like just being in a different area of the world, and seeing a different culture and experience new things, new food, new beer, all that. So it was a really cool experience. And we would go to the event on Thursday, practice, and then play the event. So, and it's honestly it's crazy because we live in Texas, and we live in this big state where it's like you gotta drive like 4 hours or whatever in either direction to get out of the state. And then driving around in Europe, you're in a different country. You drive 4 hours west, and you're in France. So it was pretty cool. Went and played the German event and got beat by Joy Division and created a little rivalry there. And then went over to the Birmingham event in England and had a crazy event with a lot of redeemers. We played Joy in the quarterfinals, had a 1-point game, beat them, and then played a really close match with Camp Pendleton Raiders. Them, I won. We had 1-point games all going into the finals, and then the finals was crazy. We played against the Lucky 15s, who are going to be playing in at World Cup. So shout out to those guys, Clint Moore and that whole group. Those guys work hard, and they're chock full of talent, young talent at that. and beat them in like a nail biter finals that kind of came down to a 1-on-1 that put us up one, and we had like 20 seconds to burn off the last point and ended up winning it. So like that was crazy to experience that and get a win over in Europe, because those are very hard to come by. And just feel really blessed to have that opportunity and get over there and check that off the bucket list. So it was always an adventure, though. I mean, I would spend like 10 to 11 days over there, so it was always a grind. But can't say enough about Axel Knopf and what he does over there, the Breakout Spa Arena. Who, I mean, a lot of those European teams come out and practice at that facility, so they have a really cool scene over there where Amsterdam Heat, Lucky 15s drive over from England. They take the Channel Tunnel, take the train and whatnot, drive through France into Belgium and come practice there. It's like a 7-hour drive or so for them, just like the equivalent of driving over to Louisiana. So, I mean, it's crazy. So they come out and practice. Camp Carnage, Paris, they come out and practice. Droogs will come out and practice. I mean, there's a ton of European teams that would come out and play out there. So we would always get good looks prior to the event. Just to be able to experience that and make some lifelong friends, and kind of just have my little place in history, being one of the X Factor players to go over and be lucky enough to play for Breakout. Like that was a really cool thing to say, and getting the first win they've ever had with Breakout Spa. I mean, I was talking to Axel after the event. He played paintball 20 years and never won. That was his first win, so that was like very special to be a part of that and just see everything come together over the course of the weekend,
Yeah.
So it was, I can't say enough about being able to play for Breakout and
we were really excited for you whenever we saw the win pop up online. So it must have, like, I can't imagine just being able to just drive over and suddenly there's like 5 or 6 pro teams getting together at a tennis complex, getting ready to play each other before an event. But that's not the only like international experience you've had. You've also, over the years, you've played several Mexican X-Ball League events, so mostly with the TJ All Stars. So
all of them.
Yeah,
all of them with the TJ All Stars.
Tell me about that experience there.
Yeah, probably one of the greatest experience I've been able to have in paintball is play for the TJ All Stars. We went on a little run there over the course of 2 years. I mean, COVID definitely changed everything and gave us a little break in between it. But man, we had a three-peat there. I mean, if you really break it down, like we had 3 back-to-back wins from December of 2019 to I guess November of 2020. I mean, COVID, that 2020, we missed the majority of that year, and then we played the last 2 events. So we didn't play the first event in Mexico. We basically missed all of that, and then we played the last 2 events. So we won the last event in 2019 and the last 2 events of 2020. So we technically had a three-peat, but it was absolutely incredible because there's just the group of guys we had who, they love to have fun. A lot of them are like the storied Mexican paintball players that have just been in the scene. I mean, Pinguino has gone and played for Aftermath with Arturo before he got picked up by Dynasty. I mean, he's one of the best players in Mexico. Cesar Villarreal, same thing, who played on Shut Up We're Trying for a while. I don't know if he's currently playing right now, but lives up in Frisco, Dallas, works for Topo Chico, is from Monterey. He put all of it together. He was the one who originally reached out to me. I think Devin Stewart had to miss a tournament. Devin had initially reached out to me, and then Caesar reaches out to me, and that's how that kind of came together. I was able to play for them the last two events of 2019, and that last event we ended up winning, and that kind of sealed the deal. We kept going from there, but historically, the TJ All Stars have been like the Yankees of the MXL. I mean, they've historically won a lot of events over there, and I mean, rightfully so. They have one of the more roster we had one of the more talented rosters for the Mexican League. I mean, if you look at it, and it's they play open, and it's like a mix of D3, D2 caliber players with a pro player, and you were allowed to have a D1 player on the team. So it was kind of a different mix. And at the time, we were able to bring over Grayson Gladstone, current player for Diesel, and we developed our own little our Mexican dynasty. So that was an awesome experience to win all of those events with him.
Are
and the
any
rest
of those
guys.
players part of the current Latin Saints?
So Daniel Gonzalez and Pinguino started the year trying out for the team, and I mean, with all the American editions and everything, and obviously the Wild Dogs guys, they kind of missed the cut. Which, I mean, say what you will about that. The Latin Saints went a little crazy at the beginning of this year, bringing in, all the killers and whatnot, and then trying to retain a lot of the Wild Dogs guys that played on that Wild Dogs team we saw at World Cup 2 years ago. So that's kind of how the cookie crumbled for that roster. But two of those guys I played with on the TJ All Stars, and they're talented. I mean, they're great paintball players, and I mean we had a stacked roster throughout that whole time period together, especially including Grayson, and have a lot of special memories with him and that group of guys winning those 3 events. But that whole experience alone was just incredible. I mean, just the vibe going down there, having fun, not having to play till like 3-4 in the afternoon. Like it was nuts, man. So going out partying, doing our thing, it was cool. And we would always have American pros down there. Harrison Fry would come down, Harris Hussein, bunch of different guys. Joe Barrett, Damian Vasquez was playing on Joe Barrett's team at the time. He's now on Dynasty. Just a lot of different pros. Corey Hall, Archie for a little while, Keith Brown as well. So we had a cool mix of American professionals, and we all go out together. We'd all have fun. So it was really cool, And being from Texas, I mean, all the events, and I should have said this from the get-go, but Arturo puts together and runs the MXL, and he's done a phenomenal, outstanding job with that, and has run such a great event. Just the vibe of like just being at home there, his mom's like working the michelada stand and everything and whatnot. Like it was just cool, man. And just that, like, that local feel. Like everybody knows each other. Everybody's been playing against each other for years. So everyone's, at the end of the day, we're all friends. It's just paintball, competitive paintball.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of talking about like your experience with both international leagues. Like, sorry to cut you off there, but I want to kind of compare the two. Like with your experience with the Mexican League, with the European League, like what are some things that you liked about, I guess, the experience, or maybe like rule set, or format, or anything about like actually playing in the events that you liked about those other leagues and that maybe you would want to see come over to the US?
The only real difference between those 3, I mean, was Europe and the 4-pod rule. You could only take 4 pods on the field, which, I mean, you can't sit in your spots and just be on your gun the entire time. You got to make shit happen at some point. 4 pauses, whatever. I mean, I really don't mind it either which way. That's the only real difference. The MXL was more like a USXBL, and it's more like everybody knows each other. Everybody's part of the scene. Like, you see these guys all the time. Not that the NXL isn't like that, but it's so much bigger, broader scale. I mean, there's a lot more stuff going on, bigger budget. There's just more going on. But the MXL as a whole was just an incredible series. I always loved being a part of that. Same thing with Europe. I mean, it's just a different look and feel. And these past the events I played over in Europe, it was pro only. So it was just 20 teams or whatever, So, I mean, it wasn't like a shit ton of people, The food's different. But that's about it, They're selling like German sandwiches and shit instead of like your normal hot dogs or whatever
Right.
at the venue, but that's about it, to tell you the truth. But no, I mean, I don't mind it. I liked either format. It was cool to be able to play both formats, but to tell you the truth, I mean,
Gotcha.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what we're doing right now with the NXL. I mean,
right. How about
game
the
football
venues? Like, I know the NXL this year has and last year has done like the stuff with the minor events, like at Giant Party Sports, at like in California, and going to like actual paintball parks instead of like setting up their own fields in some grass fields. Like, how are the venues over in Mexico and in Europe?
In Mexico, prior to COVID, they had it at different venues. So I was only able to play Puerto Vallarta and then the Guadalajara events, which we played from there on out because it was easiest at Arturo's field. I mean, badass. Arturo has an awesome facility, great grass, everything. In Europe, same thing. I mean, they had each one of those events at the local paintball fields. The German event was like tucked away in a forest. It was very different. But turf for both events. The Birmingham event was crazy. I don't know if you listened to the Play the Game podcast with Patty Marshall and Marcelo and Tyler, but the get the name of the complex. And forgive me if anybody out there is listening from that field, but it was played in a bowl. It's a badass turf, AstroTurf field from like a Manchester United field. Used turf from there, and they excavated the actual field that was being played on and created like a natural bowl with hills like overlooking it, like 15 20-foot hills like overlooking it in kind of a stadium style. So people would come out and like set up their chairs and everything on the hills and like be watching the game looking down, and the nets would be tall, so it protected everyone. It would run across like over the top too, so it was kind of enclosed. But that was a crazy venue. And they have the CPPS, I guess the English series that the Lucky 15s play. They hold it. They hold that series there at that paintball field. I'll have to look it up, but super cool facility. And all the Planet Eclipse guys were there. Leds and Jack Wood were there. So I was picking their brain on all the new projects due to come out. But yeah, I mean, like I think it's awesome that we're actually having events at paintball fields and whatnot. It was cool to see because I mean I know the Philadelphia event is played on a lot that is owned by the NXL, and they did a massive amount of work on the grass going into this year. So the event was much better than last year, rather than the Dust Bowl last year. But I really didn't mind it. I don't care. But it's I like that we have events at actual fields rather than venues or whatever. But I mean I don't really care. Like I'll play anything. It doesn't matter. But it's a great look to get out there and play at these other spots. I think it's it's good for the sport and get out there and give some of the local scene, I guess, a chance to get out there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
To be able to see these large events at fields.
I'd be curious to see if the NXL ever like tries to explore more venues versus just Capital Edge and Giant Party Sports. Like I don't know if there are any other fields across the country with that many fields that can support that large of an event. Granted, like I don't know what the Florida scene looks like. I don't know what the Northeast scene looks like. But if it were possible, like it'd be cool to like instead of just going to California and going to Dallas every year, maybe they throw like a Florida event in there, or maybe they throw an event somewhere in the Northeast, or somewhere that can really show off more local scenes.
Yeah, I think we only stick to one Florida event from now on.
Yeah.
I'm tired of going to Florida
agreed with
for all
that.
the events. I wish they would bring Vegas back or something like that. Something on the West Coast. Keep Chicago. We have our. I mean that the venue for Philly is not going anywhere. They're mocking up like a stadium or something they want to do with time. So who knows, But I don't see why we couldn't have an event over here in San Antonio, like Retama Park or something. Like there's other avenues out there. There's other opportunities for us to explore. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll see.
Be cool
We'll see.
So in addition to all of your traveling that you've done this year, you've also been organizing the X Factor Paintball series, which has been a local series designed to help newer players that have never played tournaments, or maybe they have but they just don't have the experience, and it helps them gradually enter into tournament play. The way that it's run this year is that players just sign up individually, and then the teams are, I wouldn't say random, but they're balanced out between experienced and newer players based on experience, time played, skill levels. And I thought it was really cool, just not only in the event that I got to stream, but also I got to play the 7-man one, just getting to see the teams mixed up every time, so that you never you're not just stuck with the same guys every time, but you also get to know all of the new players. So tell me more about how the league came about and what exactly like is your vision for this series.
So we'll clear this up right now. I do play my role with the XFPS, but Dylan Strickland has spearheaded this whole thing, and he's done an outstanding job with all the logistics and organizing and just everything across the board. He's crushed it, and I'm so happy to be able to just collaborate and do whatever I can to help him out with this. But it started because, Alex has always wanted his series, and it's just been a lengthy, like, 1.5 year process of just getting the ball rolling with it. And, Dylan really grabbed this thing by the horns and really organized it all and figured out this cool idea for how he wanted to do this series of, I think it was originally going to be 5 events. It's now 4, just because we have to work around the Texas paintball schedule as a whole and the NXL schedule. It's a double-edged sword, but it's awesome that we have this many events going on in Texas. It's a nightmare trying to figure out dates to get everything to work, right? So he created this really cool idea for doing 4 events, each a different format. So we started with 3-man, then we did a 5-man. We just recently did a 7-man, which was awesome. Should be doing more of those in the future. And then this next event is going to be a 10-man, which I'll get into all that. Dylan's sending me all the info right now, which is live on Facebook. But the XFPS Top Gun Championship, which is going to be a 10-man, 5-man, and one-on-one event, is going to be on December 12th. And we also have the XFPS, or we have another 3-man going on January 1st. So the Champions event is going to be It's going to be limited paint, a round robin, 10-man, 5-man, and one-on-one event. Where the top 20 players from the series as a whole are invited into playing this, with first place, second place, and third place prizes all going out. So it should be a great event, guys. It's definitely a different look, and believe us when we say this, next year we are listening to everybody, and we are going to have something somewhat similar go on, but we're going to focus on what a lot of you guys have been giving us feedback on. And I know, 3-man is at the top of that list. Everybody likes 3-man. And personally, I want to do more 7-man events. But all the information is live now on Facebook. If you go to the X Factor Paintball Park page, Dylan just posted up all the information for the XFPS Champions event that's going on. You can also see it on the XFPS Facebook page. So be sure to follow us over there, and stay tuned for more information. All 20 of the guys that have earned their place in the series to play this event are listed on there. So be sure to go there and check in and see all that going on. But to get back to what's been going on with that, I mean, we've been trying to get a series going on at X Factor now for some time, and finally been able to do that. Definitely been a collaboration, but just thankful to have as many awesome people getting involved, such as yourself, and just all the captains of the teams. I mean, Sasha Zucker has been awesome, and I mean, Dylan's done his part in that. Caesar and Brian Sylvia have done a great job getting their guys involved too from IB, and then your scattered few guys from all over. I mean, everybody's been getting involved, and to tell you the truth, the series was aimed at being more of kind of a draft style, random draw teams, where just a lot of the more experienced guys from our player pool out at X Factor could get in the mix with a lot of newer guys, and it was always random draw. So it not only does it kind of spark interest to create more teams, but it also gives a lot of people a good look at what talent's out there and what guys are getting into the mix. And for the newer guys who need tournament experience, who need to just play a local tournament to kind of get that fire under their ass and just get the ball rolling and get some experience under their belt. This is what it's about. I mean, it's about getting guys in the mix, getting them playing an event that isn't gonna kill your bank account or add APPA points. So it's definitely just a great skill builder event, if you will. And it's great experience. It's good to just get some exposure. I tell a lot of guys that I just catch out at the field who I don't recognize, hey, sign up for the next XFPS event, man. You just get out there, kind of get in the mix. If you don't know people, if you're kind of just trying to get into the speedball scene over here in San Antonio, it's a great way to get your foot in the door and start playing campaign mode. I mean, it's the best way to just get yourself out there and get noticed. So it's been awesome, and we've seen a lot of guys that we know within our local scene really step their game up by playing, because it just helps everybody at every skill level across the board, whether you're player coaching or you're organizing, or you're just a role player, you're just a killer just trying to go get heads. It's been good for everyone across the board to just get involved with and just build. We're trying to build a series that everyone can get involved in and everyone's excited to look forward to, because it's a different look. I mean, this last 7-man event we did uncapped semi-auto. I mean, when's the last uncapped semi event you've played? I mean, besides that, it's one of those things. We're trying to bring back a lot of cool elements to the game, crazy fields, different formats, playing it. Man, hyperball and airball event coming up here in December. Like, it's different, but it's been great for growth for our scene and just getting players in the mix, man. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's what Ellen and I have really tried to do. And like I was saying, all the team captains being involved, everybody being involved, and like just our locals, like Holt Roberts coming out and being head ref. I mean, that is awesome. Oh, yeah. Like you have a storied veteran, one of the best ever professional paintball players, head ref of the event. You can talk to and pick his brain throughout the event, what's going on. It's awesome. And everyone who comes out and has volunteered to ref and just get involved. It's just cool to see our community come together like that and put something really special together that we can hopefully grow into something that sells out instantly. So
that'd be cool to see.
It's been awesome.
Looking at the names on the top 20, like you've got some names that are really they've been around a little bit in the local scene at X Factor, but then you've got guys who are really making a name for themselves this year that they've been stepping up. Like even the guys that are tied for first, like you've got Aaron Hitchcock of IB, Adam Apodaca. I don't know what team you're with. Dane Webb, who he's been absolutely killing it. He's with the Rapids and he's tied for first right now. And then of course you got Shane he's been around X Factor for quite a while, but he's really stepping up this year. And then you've got a bunch of other names on there like Brian Sylvia, Ruben Maldonado. I want to give a special shout out to some of these Titans that are on here, like Ruben Maldonado, Isaiah Carnes.
Ruben's been crushing it. He's been he's been the MVP of the last two events. Like, I would be very surprised if he isn't like a staple of y'all's Division III team within the next year.
Here's the thing, like he started playing speedball this year. We've kind of brought him up and managed points. Like he's going to be on D5 next year. Like how scary is that some of these names are like absolute monsters in the XFPS, and then like they're going to go off to their other leagues that they play next year. And like Ruben's going to be D5. Isaiah's going to be D5 next year.
I mean, there's shit ton of talent we have here in San Antonio. Awesome. It is awesome to see all these guys, developing their game, evolving. And part of the reason why we created a series like this, where, a lot of these local guys that are getting better can have another avenue to get even more better and not tack on valuable APPA points, and level up too quickly or play a super expensive event. I mean, we had this last 7-man right after a USXBL, and we still had a great showing. Like it's one of those. We're trying to just help the players continue to evolve their game, by playing as many events. And like if anybody's out there listening and like really wants to know what the key to success is, it's getting out there and just getting the experience, putting in the hard work, doing the dirty work. Like, yeah, you can get out there, do your drills and all that, which definitely helps, but you need to understand the game. You need to develop the paintball IQ and understand the situations and how the game develops and what needs to be done. Excuse me. But that's the key. Tournament experience. Getting out there and being in situations where your back's against the wall and you have to win the match. So that's the true key. But XFPS on the come up, we're doing everything we can. Dylan's texting me right now saying our goal is to have certified refs out there for these XFPS events. So like look for that in the future. And there will be, I believe Colt Roberts will be running a professional referee clinic in January, he's saying, low cost.
That'd be cool.
So you'll have a chance to become certified being a ref. I hope I didn't butcher this, Dylan. Give me a script, baby.
Yeah, Dylan's messaging me as well. He wants me to name all 20 guys real quick. So Just looking at the list, I already said Aaron Hitchcock, Adam Apodaca, Dane Webb, Shane Scarborough, Brian Sylvia, Ruben Maldonado, Marcus Arellano, Martin Zapata, Isaiah Carnes, Brandon Zimmerly, Cesar Zamora, Michael Smith, Kendrick Wilson, Sebastian Palma, Rick Hall, Chris Hernandez, Trevor Bettis. Catherine Moore is on there as well. She just started like a few months ago, and she's in there.
Out there killing it.
Oh yeah,
She
and
was
she's
a
also
beast at the 5-man.
Oh yeah, and also like really heading this nightball scene during the weekdays at X Factor. So she's just out there constantly. So continuing, we got Dustin Thornton, Jim Wren, and Sasha Zucker running out the top 20 for the championship there. So watch out.
All familiar names, staples in our community we have in San Antonio, and just all guys that we've seen grow, and all some new faces in there as well. And there's no reason why, Joe Blow, who just started playing like 3 months ago, can't be, the next up and coming staple of Texas paintball. Just getting out there, getting your experience and all that. So Dylan just cleared it up. Colt is getting the head ref from the NXL. Come to San Antonio and teach a clinic for people who would like to learn to become a ref.
Okay.
So that will be going on in January.
That'll be super cool.
We'll be able to have.
They do the like reffing clinics sometimes that fit pretty much yearly. So did he say like does that lead to like NXL ref certification?
I'm sure it does. I mean, he said you can get certified through this. So I'm assuming like that's the first step, right. And getting that process complete. So.
Also, stay tuned with that if you're looking to, get some formal ref training there. So Jesse, well, actually, before we continue, for everybody that's in the chat with us, that's been hanging out for the last hour, sticking it with us while we were trying to figure out our technical difficulties for the first 20 minutes or so. Thanks for sticking around. It's good to see everybody in the chat. If you have something that you want to ask Jesse for this episode, please be sure to get your questions in the chat. We'll get to it towards the end of the episode. All right, so that means don't start flaming me when I don't ask your question within 10 seconds of you typing it. All right, we gotta plan for this thing. All right, so continuing, getting back to your pro career here in the U.S. So you've played for several Texas teams, AC Dallas. You played with Diesel when they were D1, and you've been with X Factor for the last couple of years. You've had multiple stints, but now you're like a staple on the pro roster. So throughout your entire career here in the U.S., do you have like a single favorite moment?
Our run in 2019 was very special. I mean, nothing can really top that for me. I mean, just it was awesome. I mean, Rainey's first year on the team and just kind of how the year unfolded. The grind we had, there were multiple events where we had like 3 weekends of practice, and like at the end of a lot of those, like I felt really sharp. I felt really good. But I mean, we've had our ups and downs. Like, there's always highs and lows, and there's been a lot of special moments with X Factor that I've been able to experience. I mean, my first year on the team in 2012, we won a 7-man. And 7-man isn't around anymore. And it's like I really feel truly blessed to be able to get a 7-man in like before the league really imploded, because I mean we beat good teams to win that event, and that was when like everybody, for the most part, all the big name teams were playing. Dynasty, Infamous, Arsenal, Impact. A lot of good team damage, a lot of good teams. We're playing 7-man with a lot of good players on those rosters. Won a 7-man in my rookie year with the team, and then 2013 was just an up and down year, character building year, growth year. Was young, needed to learn some lessons and whatnot, and I went my separate ways from the team because just wasn't performing well and needed to figure out some things off the field and my game on the field. And to tell you the truth, like it it really opened my eyes to the fact that I really didn't know much about paintball at the time, and like didn't know like really the game as a whole and how deep it was in system paintball. I hadn't played system paintball yet, and just how everything kind of shifted and went from there was truly crazy. And I'm going to throw around some names here that you probably didn't even know I had experiences with. So in 2014, I played for a team called the Dallas Jets with one of my roommates, X Factor alumni, Ryan Cohen, one of my good buddies. And played Division One with the Dallas Jets. We ended up having a short year, but I mean, a ton of talent on that team, including now professional player Benjamin Hindenburg, BJ Hindenburg, right? In fact, I've played on 3 teams with BJ Hindenburg: X Factor D2, Diesel, and AC. No, I'm sorry. X Factor D2, the Jets, and Diesel. But yeah, BJ Hindenburg on that team, Carter Green, Ryan Coplin, Taylor Kurtz. You know, we had a bunch. Blake Brister. I'm missing somebody, but we had a ton of talent, and some of those guys had played for old school Division One team, Justice League, which Mark Johnson was a part of. So, like, there's a tremendous amount of talent there on that team. Only played like half a year with them, and then was kind of at a crossroads. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I came in for a World Cup practice with X Factor, and at 2014, at the end of that year, just kind of mixing in, filling it out, and they ended up picking Carl Markowski up in that off season, and like didn't know what I wanted to do, and Dimitri Ninos, Peter, convinces me to go try out for AC Dallas, who had just won their professional spot, and Division One semi-pro, winning 2 events and being top 4 for a good bit of that year. And you know they're having tryouts, yada yada yada. I go out, make the team. VCK basically gets absorbed by AC Dallas, so it becomes 2 teams at that point, and I don't necessarily make the cut or pro team, and I get put on the Division One team, Diesel. So they bring back that name, all you paintball historians, and it was I've mentioned this on Go Sports and Play the Game and all that, but it was probably one of the best things to ever happen to me because, believe it or not, what you need in paintball is to go get the shit kicked out of you by better players and practice better people a lot. And that's what I was able to do. They had the pro squad and then the D1 team, and you know I played every point, and we grinded. We grinded 2015, 2016, 2017. Like we really worked hard. And I was there for like that whole run. Like all of us were, you know, young. We're in college. You know, guys are playing for college teams, and just we're in school. So like we play paintball on the weekends all the time, and you know have long practices, traveling all over. Befriend one of my best friends in the world, Tyler Spees, through AC, and because we were both from San Antonio, we would always travel together. So we're doing that 5-10 hour round trip together all the time in paintball. So you know, lots of growth those years, and like exponential growth, like really being a part of Greg Pauly's system and like understanding like you know the slow game and like you know smart pocket paintball, you know. So it was a great experience. You know, those 3 years were awesome. I mean, I can't say enough about the Jackson brothers, Mark Johnson, Greg, like all the tough love I got from him throughout the years. Tim Land, all those guys, man. Like it was, looking back on it, like crazy awesome process that that just blossomed and unfolded in front of my eyes. And I was persistent. I worked hard, and at the end of 2016, they asked me, or they pulled me up to the pro team to play. So I did the full circle. I mean, played in D1 for 2-3 years, and then was back up in pro. And then I was World Cup 2016. Played all of 2017 after another AC rebuild. We lost a bunch of guys that offseason. Clint Johnson went to X Factor. Nico Hyde, Devin Stewart, they went to Heat. So we went into that year with 6 guys. Myself, Curly, who we had picked up, TJ Danner, the Jackson brothers, John and Matt Jackson, and then Ryan Hall, who I played with on Diesel. So that was a huge growth year because I played a lot of paintball. I got a lot of reps. Just developed a lot, and at the end of that season, X Factor asked me to come back. So really some full circle moment, spending that much time with AC and then getting my opportunity to come back to X Factor. And then, that's 2018, have an up and down year. And then 2019, get rainy and we go on a run. So It was awesome.
And now we're here at this iteration of the roster, which, X Factor has always had a whole bunch of absolute killers, like top to bottom. And even though like this year, many would have called like this year a rebuild year with Archie heading over to Dynasty and y'all picking up LJ Parrish, y'all TJ Danner is finally healthy and playing consistently. You're continuing to get Tom Guest in with you as well. And so now
Cody Bayless there.
Yeah, and Cody Bayless is starting to get healthy more consistently as well. And so through, even though it's just like one or two pieces moving around, just the fact that Archie did go to Dynasty and he was such a huge part of the roster. So, many people would call this kind of a rebuild year. And it started out a little slow with X Factor missing their first Sunday during the entirety of this iteration of the NXL, but then bringing it back with back-to-back semifinals. So even with all of the departures and additions, like has that at all like changed, I guess, like the process that X Factor has?
I think this year we've worked even harder than we have in the past. And I mean, obviously, like losing Archie, that is a big hit. But we have the manpower to come back in full force. And to tell you the truth, we've just underperformed. And like, make whatever excuse you want. I mean, it's on us to perform and get back into the swing of things. And I mean, these past couple events, we've started to see everything trend in the right direction. I mean, look back on Chicago, there's a few things maybe in that match, whether penalties or just small mistakes, just not go our way and cost us a finals appearance. And to tell you the truth, like in X Factor fashion, the team that beats us wins the damn tournament. So we're right there. We're a very talented team from top to bottom. It's just us getting out there and performing, doing the right things. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, like just like any sport, like you watch these titans clash, and you have these big matches, and I mean, you can. There's so many parallels, no matter what division you're playing, but it normally comes down to, maybe a handful of mistakes, errors within the matches that decide direction that it goes in. And for us, it's been that underperforming, or call it whatever, like you getting kind of the short end of the stick, whatever it may be. But it's really just come down to our performance, and like we're just stepping up to the plate and winning those tight situations. So
I think in paintball, like it's an even smaller margin than most other like professional sports. Like paintball, it's it's not like football where you have 11 guys and uh or these bigger rosters. Like paintball is just 5-on-5. Um, granted, there's other professional sports, but like there's not a whole lot of I guess opportunity, or there's the sample size is a lot smaller. I feel like in paintball versus something like even sports where it's like 2-on-2 or 1-on-1, like let's say like tennis or professional volleyball or any of those other smaller team sports. Like the sample size as far as the number of points that you played or the time, like most of those other sports, you're like hours or multiple hours long matches, whereas like in paintball it's just like you've got 15 minutes on the field if you're in the pro division, and even less if you're in divisional. You've only got like 12 minutes, and that's it. It feels like just one small mistake can cost you the entire thing.
Yeah, I mean it's momentum at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean it's really like little things with us. We have such a talented roster with like any 5 guys we could have get hot, go out there and make it happen. So I mean, we're looking forward to a grinder event. World Cup's historically always been a good event for us, and I'm more than positive we're gonna finish strong this year. And we got 2 really big grinder practice weekends coming up that I'm extremely excited about. And for all of you in the San Antonio area, if you ever have the chance to get out and come watch an X Factor practice, I mean, teams come from all over to come practice us. And I mean, it's always quality teams. Like this is coming to layout weekends. We have Heat, Infamous, Dynasty, and Level coming out to the field to practice us. So it's going to be a grinder, and we're going to learn a lot. And you have a tremendous opportunity as a divisional player that plays in San Antonio, who's spoiled by the fact that you have a top professional team out there that you can go out and just watch and learn from and see all the storied, legends of paintball come out and play, and be able to learn something, be able to pick up tricks and, really dissect and figure out, okay, this is why this guy does so-and-so, so on and so forth, So take advantage of it. Like, if there's anything I'm really trying to say with this, it's take advantage of the knowledge that's being presented to you, and take it upon yourself to learn. So at the end of the day, if you want to be the paintball player you dream of being, it's all about the work you put in, the input, right? It takes input for output, and to tell you the truth, it's as simple as watching paintball and understanding the situations and scenarios that are unfolding.
Well, there's going to be a lot of paintball to watch this weekend if you're in the San Antonio area. So this week you have Houston Heat and Infamous, and then next week is going to be Dynasty and Columbus Level.
Yes, that's
going to be some insane practices to watch. Definitely, just since I'll be there both weekends, it's going to be some good points to be played. So, talking about World Cup, the layout dropped earlier today. So let's talk about that a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Let me pull it up real quick. I've been kind of looking at it throughout the day, kind of eyeballing it, but for the most part, it gave us a little bit of everything. And, we both played in the era of the wall, and he gave us a wall, and I like when the middle is created where there's large bunkers kind of on the perimeter of whatever the center structure is that allows for moves to be made through the middle to punch, counter punch, whatever it may be, right? But create, right? We always talk about creating on the field, being able to, cause a little bit of chaos, and then people be able to recognize and work off of that, take advantage of what's kind of unfolded. But as you can see, I mean, you got towers and lay down wedges on the outsides, mirrored from the middle, which is a giant wall. So it's going to play like the W. There's going to be a guy up there. It's the biggest bunker on the field. I mean, you should expect the guy to be up there, to be able to create, look both ways, go through, whatever it may be. We've seen a lot of layouts, especially this year. I know we were talking about this in the pre-show, but seems like different trends have been kind of going on. Like some years it'll be like a lot of different, or a lot of like the same kind of style snake, or I think last year we had almost the same Dorito side like every event with like a couple bunkers changing here or there. But like we have a lot of like really cool center positions. Like the middle's been able to really be exploited, especially this year, in my opinion, at least. The middle's been very strong, and we see that now on this field. And then, I mean, pretty straightforward Dorito side with a brick for the 50. So big structures over there where you just get there under your wrap, go to their side, shoot people in the back. Pretty straightforward, and then you have a straight down snake. The shark fin snake corner threw me for a loop, so that adds kind of a different element to that side because it makes it kind of tough the corner to have dominance. But ladder snake, you can crawl to their end, shoot everybody in the back. It looks like there's quite a few ways to slow down the guy from getting into the snake if he doesn't make it off the break. A lot of dead zones. It's like the back center has some good shots as well off the break. I mean, the back spots look pretty strong, honestly. The pocket looks strong, if I'm being completely honest. We'll see. I mean, I would expect a field like this. It's as the tournament progresses and evolves, it's going to be hard to run. We'll see. But it looks like a strong pocket. When there's a strong pocket like this, I mean, people start shooting well. You can pick on different spots. It allows a lot of play through the middle, which I can almost guarantee you is going to happen. You're going to funnel bodies through the middle.
Oh yeah, it definitely reminds me of some of the wall layouts from the past. But I can easily see that there's going to be once people start shutting down the sides, either shutting down the Dorito side, shutting down the snake side, there's going to be a lot of counter like mind games throughout the match, just going up the middle instead and setting traps or just running through. So
traps you can set. I mean, the punches through the middle though. I mean, you can go to that tower, that wedge outside of the middle, and go through. Set up a trap inside, like it's a wall. Like the guy's gonna be up there. Set a trap for the guy to try and come through. You're crossed up. Like it's gonna be one of those middles where I guarantee you, two bodies end up there, and you're looking for a guy to go through, create, and then the second guy capitalizes. Vice versa, the other side of that, the counter punch. I mean, you have traps that can be set for guy coming through. That you can set up. There's a lot of different ways that it looks like you can monitor what's going on in the middle. And I guarantee you that little pin on the snake side in the middle, there's going to be a bounce shot off of that into the guy who's looking that way. Because, I mean, there's a pretty big gap that you can look through for the guy. Like, the field's going to shorten up. We know that, right? So that trap is going to be there. The guy's just going to be sitting there waiting at the wall, the guy to run through the snake gap and just chop him up, right? Like that's one thing. Same thing on the Dorito side. Like the wall and watch all the Dorito gaps for the most part. I mean, he loses the guy in like the 40-yard line, Dorito zone. But everything getting up to there, I mean, he can monitor. He can sit there and wait. The guy tries to make a sloppy move, doesn't check that off. He's dead to rights. So, I mean, it's definitely going to slow down.
Yeah, I think the center is going to be definitely key. I think the taller players who are able to see over those bricks can truly play the wall. and see over that center brick, they're going to feast. So I think, like, at least for X Factor, like, my first thought goes to Tom Guess and TJ Danner. Like, they're your
Yeah,
kind of like your taller
yeah.
players. You're going to see them up the middle for sure.
Even Rainey, like get a guy like, I mean, like, honestly, if we go down the list, like, look, the way Colt was playing in the middle at the last tournament, you could send him through with. It's all going to come down to like personnel packages, right? If we want to throw around football terms, I mean, between like Colt, Rainey, Tom, TJ, like Meter, maybe, like there's all kinds of little combinations you can throw, you know, at that, and then whoever else you want, like fill all the slots. Like who are your wideouts? Who are your ones? You know, who are the twos out of that list of guys? You know, we have a lot of different options, and it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, like, this looks to be like a very strong pocket field, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. See how this structure is created. You have it's like a little demon. Like you have the two tall wedges on the outsides of the wedge, right? So I guarantee you there's little cross shots and stuff back into whether it's the back center or the two inserts, juice box on the snake side and then that tower on the Dorito side. There's going to be cross shots back into those guys going into those spots, especially if it's a taller guy shooting that, like going into the insert, shooting cross or whatever, like, and just shooting back over the central car wash back into the back center. Guarantee you that's going to be there. There's all kinds of different little combinations and, you know, things you can throw into the mix with that. And there's alleyways. Like there's those inserts both on the out, or the wedges on the outside and then the towers on the outside. There's two alleyways right there, which, I mean, you can stand on the box like a foot or two off of it and shoot down the pipe back at guys, whether it's the back center or like stand offset, shooting cross, whatever it may be. Like there's going to be different little shots. Like I guarantee you this weekend, there's going to be somebody who pulls up on the snake side of the box, who shoots through that alleyway, the insert guy on the snake side to the juice box, and then takes like a half step to another step out on the snake side and shoots a second shot. The guy running the Texas, the God bunker, the wide lane on the snake side. Like two shots, you literally shooting two zones, and you could potentially pick up two bodies. It's two zones, you know, people are going through. Like there's little shots here and there that you just have to find, and you have to time things, and you have to understand like what's a high percentage shot, what's a low percentage shot, different little combinations like that. That's like that's definitely things that are going to be elements to this field. And just your options wide. I mean, what's a good bunker? What's kind of, you know, not so good of a bunker? All that kind of stuff. But overall, I think it's going to be an exciting field. We'll see how it plays out, man. I hope it's not going to be too much of a pocket field where we're just hiding, shooting guns, but who knows?
I don't think so. I think Jason Trojan's been doing a really good job with making some pretty action-packed fields. It's not a whole lot of sit and shoot this year.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll definitely see.
So, Jesse, we're kind of getting to the end of our show. I see we have a few questions in the chat. They're mostly just trolling you, though. So I'll spare you all of that. Like we got Pierce in the chat typing a few things for you, so I'm sure you can imagine. So we do have one question here from Thomas. He's mentioning like some of the teams that you've been coaching throughout this year. Just like what have you seen out of those teams? Like since you started working with them, like tell us about like the success, like especially with the innocent bystanders. You've been running a couple of clinics with them. So just tell me about the growth that you've seen out of that squad since you've begun working with them.
So I've actually been working with a number of IB guys over the course of this year, and it's turned into me helping coach the D4 team, which has a very talented roster. I believe you guys have a practice set up prior to World Cup that I'm excited to be a part of and help them prepare, give you guys some good looks, but chocked full of talent and just needed that an organizational kind of standpoint, and just understanding like the team aspect of it, not just playing individual paintball, working in pairs, and the we call it 2-man operation on either side, and then just those back three like working together and flipping guns around, covering zones. Like, the guy gets put in, okay, hey, can you watch this way? Just the simple little things, the communication, understanding where advantages are, understanding where disadvantages are, and where we need to switch guns, and yada yada yada. So there's all kinds of elements that I've been able to bring to that team to kind of help them become more organized and understand the game a little better as a whole. And for the most part, from top to bottom, the roster has gotten better over the course of the last year and a half. They've all individually gotten better, and as a team, we're getting better and better as the weeks go on, as the months go on. And I mean, I'll be expecting them to make the jump to D3 Ball pretty soon here. But I mean, I can't say enough about what Brian Sylvia has been able to do over there with his group of guys, and they've really bought in, and they've been true students of the game, and really have implemented a lot of the elements we've been practicing, and just spoonfuls, just building, compiling stuff, not giving too much, but like working on little things here and there, just from the back three guys, and expanding off of that, and just understanding guys' roles and who needs to be looking for what, and just the veteran experienced guys truly being the quarterbacks, and just understanding like what needs to be done, right? Knowing what to look for and who to call upon, how to work together to take advantage.
All right, well, good on those guys. Like I've known a lot of them. I mean, we see them every weekend. They've been impressing. I'm looking forward to see how they continue to, mesh together, start playing some real team ball together. I think that squad definitely has the talent to go really far. Just now that they're getting kind of that that older experience from yourself to help them along. I think that'll help them go far. We got a few more questions in the chat. I mean, there's just a couple of different people in the chat asking if you're going to be like traveling during the off season or anything, going to different fields. Like we've got, I'm assuming that's someone from the Greed organization, maybe Jason Bonner, asking when they're going to see you at Fit. We got another person asking if you have any plans to go over to Texas Legends over in Houston at all. So like, do you have any plans in the off season to do any traveling?
Yeah. I'm open to doing clinics and all that. I work for a federal contractor now, so I'm still kind of figuring out my schedule. And I mean, I took off a bunch of time for World Cup, so I'm trying to be good. But we'll see what my availability is. I love doing clinics. I know I've been meaning to get over there to Legends and Flat Zone and all those those fields over in Houston, where I have a lot of great friends. And I coached Greed and Jason Bonner for a USXBL, and we ended up taking second to Yammer Hammers. A lot of good friends over there. I don't know when I'm going to be at Paintball Fits. When I'm in Dallas, I will let you know. But I mean, it's just it's getting tougher and tougher to really start traveling around and all that. Right. But I'll do my best. I mean, that's all I can say. I'll figure out something. I love going up to Paintball Fit. Have a ton of love and respect for all my guys up there, and what JD and the Lacal brothers are putting together up there, and what they're doing for the community. But yeah, I mean, I'll do my best. Miss all you guys. I'll see you at the USXPLs, but we'll figure out something. I am open for clinics. Just got to work out details and whatnot. I'll be going back to Louisiana to hang out at LA Extreme and visit the family in December. So I'll probably be there for a week, if not two. We'll see. But other than that, I mean, World Cup's going to end, and it's basically back on the grind. You know, I have goals I want to set for next year. Seeing as this year was more of a transition year for me, I missed a good chunk of this year just to get some balance in my life and get to a place where, you know, I can not be at paintball events and stressing real world shit. You know, like I needed to grow up at some point. So I'm out here juggling real life now, but the grind's gonna start as soon as World Cup ends, and you know I'll be playing the 5 NXLs, and if Mexico opens back up, the MXL opens back up, I'll probably play that just because it's easy. It's like a 2-3 hour flight to Guadalajara to play, and I mean I have a really good relationship with the TJ All Stars, so just out of sheer convenience, I'll probably be doing that, and then obviously coaching and whatnot. Maybe some 10-man. We'll see. No promises. It always seems like something always happens at a 10-man event. Stub my knee on a tree, a stump or something. God forbid. But oh man, I mean, I'm definitely trying to get over there to Houston, if not anything, to get a clinic going over there. So we'll see. Keep in touch with me, guys. Just reach out to me, and we'll put something together. I just gotta check the calendar, see what I can and can't do. So,
all right, y'all.
About it for that.
So just you know, keep up with Jesse. Just reach out to him if you're interested in setting up a clinic. So Jesse, that's you know, that pretty much does it. So last question that I ask everybody that comes on the show. Anybody in Texas that the rest of Texas, if they don't know about them, who do they need to know? So it could be players, teams, organizations, like projects, photographers, like anybody in Texas. If the rest of Texas doesn't know about them, who do they need to know about?
There's a lot of guys doing a lot of good out there. God.
Yeah, especially in Texas.
Players. I want to talk about players. Like everybody, I mean, like media, all that. Like, you know, you guys are doing awesome. But some of my local guys that have been stepping up to the plate. Shane Scarborough. I think I just butchered his last name, but he's coming up, man. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. Unfortunately, he's had some tough lessons towards the end of these last couple events that have been played. You were on the opposite end of one of those. You made a heads-up play and got him in a very important 2-on-1 or 2-on-2, I think. But he's been making a lot of strides in his game. Ruben as well. Isaiah on Titans. That kid's on the come up, and he's hungry. Aaron Hitchcock on IB. Been putting in a tremendous amount of work. People are taking notice of him. I mean, there's a lot of talent out there. Chris Hernandez, that's another kid on IB who's been playing really well for them. Brian Sylvia, you know, we are blessed to have a crazy talented pool of players over here. That's like, you know, I mean, just like everything, you have these up and down years, you know, like Grit dismantled a year or two ago, and you saw, you know, a lot of players split off, and you know, it kind of resets. Titans start rising up. Dragoons have been doing well. We'll get into them here in a second because I'm seeing a lot of good things from them. Another team Colt Roberts has been working with, aside from yourselves, but the Titans have risen up. Dragoons have risen up. IB's been getting better and better. Their camps got expanded, so they're getting more talented players in the mix, and you know, they're working with professionals, and they're really taking it upon themselves to implement all these different things to their game that truly counts, that truly like trends the team in the right direction to success. So there's just been guys stepping up. Dylan Strickland just been thoroughly impressive, just with everything he's done for y'all's organization, for the XFPS, as a player, you know, himself, as a man. Like it's awesome to see. Like him step up to the plate and do so many awesome things for our community. I'm a little biased on this because I see how much work he puts in and see how much passion he has for, you know, the XFPS as our latest project, and just the Titans in general, running an organization like that. I mean, I can't say enough about these guys. Brian Sylvia, I know I mentioned his name earlier, but he's put in a tremendous amount of work for IB and has organized like a really talented team that I'm excited to work with for World Cup. So it's been cool all around to see so many guys stepping up. Ruben has impressed me thoroughly these past 2 events. Seems like whatever team he's gotten on ends up winning. So it's been cool to see so much young talent stepping up to the plate, getting better, you know, taking all the right steps to better themselves as paintball players. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see just San Antonio paintball continue to grow, and just Texas paintball. I mean, Houston's doing good. Dallas is in a great place. You know, the Valley. We got teams like Balls Out that are playing great at these USXBLs, who have a tremendous amount of talent. So I'm just excited as a whole. A lot of good things. There's a lot of great things going on, and you know, I'm stoked to see everything continue to snowball and evolve.
Oh yeah. Yep. This next season's gonna be great. I can tell you that. Just keep watching. You know, even those that aren't in Texas, you know, you're gonna see some exciting things coming out of here pretty soon. Like, don't be surprised if you're gonna see some Texas teams starting to run the table at the national events. That's all I'll say about that. So, Jesse, do you have any last shout outs or things you'd like to say before we sign off?
Shout out to Cole Roberts. Everything he does for the community out here in Texas with Kumite, you know, head ref for these XFPSs, and you know, just being a true ambassador of the sport and giving back and helping the next generation of players shift into a new gear. It's been cool to see, and just, you know, everything we've been able to do within the community and everything. Alan Strickland, another big shout out. Thank you for everything you've done and all these awesome text messages you're sending me about all the events we're planning on doing and everything. I'm truly excited, brother. So and thank you, Christian. I love what you're doing over here. You're getting everyone involved, and you know, I know you're thinking about expanding out from just like the Texas scene of the show, but you know, you're doing the right things, man. You're asking the right questions. You know, this has been awesome. I've enjoyed the show and been able to come on, and was happy we finally were able to do this.
Yeah, me too. So just what Jesse mentioned right there at the end about me expanding story there is earlier today I had a pro player from one of the other teams in the NXL, non-Texas. He reached out to me, you know, asking to see if like we can get him on the show. So I know, like, you know, this whole podcast has been pretty much just about the Texas stories. I mean, I know like we've got so many good people in the Texas scene, and paintball is notoriously bad about like promoting and getting stories out and connecting like outside of like their own little like caves. They're not really branching out so much. So I thought, you know, let's give more people in Texas anyway the platforms so they can get their stories out, make sure they're heard. But yeah, just I had a pro player message me asking if he could get on the show, and he actually did play briefly, but he did play with AC Dallas last year with kind of like the fit.com boys. So we can grandfather him in a little bit.
Nice.
So just stay tuned with that. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a good episode. Been a long, I think my longest episode yet, but a ton of good stuff in there. So be sure to go follow Jesse at Jesse. That's __ Stevens on Instagram. There's 2 underscores in there. Yeah. And also go follow San Antonio X Factor. That's at X Factor PB on Instagram. If you go to X Factor Park, that's like the the park side of things, but X Factor PB is the pro team. So what other
X
guests would
Factor
you like to see?
PB, X Factor Paintball Park, and then make sure you follow XFPS on Facebook and X Factor Paintball Park on Facebook.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So if you're following X Factor Paintball Series stuff, you got to look at the X Factor Park page as well. That they're going to be posting information on both pages. So make sure you're following both of them so you can stay up to date. So y'all, what other guests would you like to see on the show? Be sure to leave a comment down below. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. The show goes live weekly here on twitch.tv/inthepitspaintballpodcast, and recordings posted to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify the next day. I just got another message in the chat saying, remember when Christian started these as 30-minute episodes? Yeah, I know. Yeah, we got a lot of stories to tell. So next week, y'all, we will see you for episode 20. And stay tuned on the In the Pits pages on Facebook and Instagram, so you can see upcoming announcements for all of the November episodes. All right, Jesse, thank you so much for your time. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too. Take it easy.